Who here has ever been put on hold by a customer service agent on the telephone? Oh, yeah. Okay, probably most of you by Bell of Canada too, right? How about when you're driving through that 25-kilometer-an-hour school zone? That's okay, that's all right. So if you're driving through the school zone, 25 kilometers an hour, and somebody's going the right speed limit in front of you, right? That's okay, that's all right, don't worry. So here's another one. How about you're trying to download something on the internet, and it's going really, really slow? Does that happen to you sometimes? Right? Slow bandwidth? Okay, here's one we've all encountered. You're sitting in the doctor's office, leafing through a magazine, and you're wondering, how can the doctor be late with the first appointment of the day? Right? Everybody's turned out. So delay frustrates us, because we live in a fast-paced world. And as a result, many of us have actually come to prize the tools and lifestyles that support that fast-paced lifestyle. And you young folks are exactly the same. Who here's got a cell phone? Oh, you young folks. Yeah. Yeah, do you send texts on it every once in a while? Yeah, well, maybe you're just kidding. You want to have one, though, don't you? There you go. Yeah, so you send a text on that thing, and you don't get an answer back. How do you feel? Really? How come they haven't answered me back? So we want faster communications. We want faster travel options, don't we? Right? We don't like connections when we're on airlines. How about fast food? Anybody here like to roll up to McDonald's and get served in a matter of 2 minutes? Yeah. What would happen if it didn't come for half an hour? You'd be frustrated.
Burger King.
Yeah, Burger King. And for the rest of us, how about those weight loss programs that promise fast loss of weight? Never comes fast enough, right? Because actually we don't make the connection between doing more and eating less. And how many of, okay you guys, how many of you have found yourself in the back seat of a car, going someplace with your parents, and the thing that comes out of your mouth is, are we there yet? Yeah, you betcha. We all do that, don't we? Because we want to get there faster. So in fact, we learn as young people. We start to learn as young people. Get there faster, get into this fast-paced world. And it's getting worse. Indeed, some folks simply make the decision to enter rejection mode. They become like, or want to become like urban hermits. What they really want to do is to avoid the hustle and bustle, whereas others tend to get trapped and they're longing to get out. Which sort of begs the thought that if patience in our world needs a special social movement in order to be valued, then we got a problem. We got a problem. We do need to learn patience, every one of us to different degrees. Some of us are better than others. But we need to learn it not only in our daily lives, but also in this important process of waiting on God, which is the theme of the reading of the Gospel, the 10 bridesmaids story this morning. This parable written in Matthew's Gospel is about the 10 bridesmaids, speaks to our world as much as it did his, because it's a fresh reminder that we always need to be prepared for delay and for the unexpected possibility of meeting Christ in a situation that abruptly falls on us, abruptly confronts us, where the will of God and the coming of the kingdom really meet. The rubber hits the road if you've got to do something quickly because you've encountered something unanticipated. In the parable today, the bridegroom is the allegorical Jesus, of course, and Jesus, or the bridegroom, arrives late to the wedding, and not all the guests are prepared for the delay. Those who are ready, who have enough oil for their lamps, are ready in body and spirit, and they are distinguished from those who aren't. Those who are ready are referred to as wise, and the others are left behind. In the midst of life's pain and joy and ease and adversity and intrigue and its boredom, the faith of the wise sustain them. They keep their light shining before them. They're prepared to meet any unanticipated situation with deeds of mercy, of selflessness, of forgiveness, and the spreading of justice to the worthy and the unworthy alike. We all strive for that, and we all fall short. People like that have not and will not relinquish the hope that the world will one day be transformed for the better and be fully reconciled to God. In times of crisis, that hope guides the actions of men and women who hold the Spirit of God in their lives, and they do it in peacetime as well as in war. So let me tell you a little wartime story now. I've shared it with you before, but I'd like to approach it from a different perspective. It's a story of bravery, but at its core, it's a story about individuals who were pre-prepared with a heart for God that allowed them to make a split-second decision, ultimately out of love for others. It's a story about Flight Officer Robert Rennie, who flew with the Royal Canadian Air Force, FM 626 Lancaster bomber, attached to 50 Squadron of RAF Bomber Command. The date is the 6th of November, almost exactly 70 years ago. They are on a bombing mission as part of Operation Gravenhorst on their way to the Ruhr Valley. On the way, they are intercepted by enemy fighters and they're badly shot at. Their compatriots in the air, their fellow bombers in the air, see their plight and see that they're shot up enough they can't maintain altitude. They have no hope. They have no alternative except to descend down toward a cloud layer that was very close to the ground. They were sufficiently shot up that they could not jettison their bomb load. They didn't have the option to jettison their bombs before plunging through the cloud layer. They went through the cloud layer and popped out just hundreds of feet above the ground, and here's where the eyewitnesses on the ground, in the little village of Pieda, which is about 60 kilometers north of Arnhem and about 80 kilometers east of Amsterdam, looked up in their village and saw the bomber break through the overcast. The bomber was headed directly for their village, and they saw it coming. In a few seconds, they saw the pilot, Flight Officer Rennie, bank his bomber sharply away from the village, having made the split-second decision to give his life in favor of others. When you do that in an airplane, you know that the stall speed, the airspeed required to keep the airplane flying is lost. As soon as he did that maneuver, he knew that his airplane was going to hit the ground. There was no option for a belly landing. They broke through the cloud, he made that decision, banked, and the aircraft plunged to the ground, and all of its ordnance exploded, and everyone on board was killed. The oldest was 26, the youngest was 18. The citizens of the village never forgot that. Never have. 25 years later, Flight Officer Rennie's brother, Don Rennie, who was 19 years old, flying on a press trip on Maritime Command, Halifax Bombers. 25 years later, Don Rennie got the invitation from the village to come and commemorate the 25th anniversary of that day. When he got there, to his surprise, not only did everyone who was alive and shared the story in November 1944 know the story, every child in the village knew the story. Schools were closed, offices were closed, and they all came out to gather around not just a plaque on a wall, but a cenotaph. The center of their village was reorganized to commemorate this event. The entire crew is interred not in a war cemetery, but in their cemetery in Heerlen, and they take care of it. It's a great irony sometimes that wars are won and hearts are won not with bombs, but with acts of selflessness. If you've ever been a Canadian traveling in the Netherlands, perhaps now, in a little tiny way, you'll understand why they so revere Canada. There's something I want to share with you from Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, just a little snippet right at the end, where he says, "Not everyone who says to me, 'Lord, Lord,' will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the ones who do the will of my Father in heaven." We might understand the oil in the parable of the 10 bridesmaids today as representing faith and spiritual reserve, of being ready to be the light of Christ in the world around us, including being ready to make a decision, whether it's your life or someone else's, in that split second, because it might be all you have to make that decision. That thought might help us explain the fact that the bridesmaids who were prepared were unable to share their oil with those who were not. That's an interesting aspect of this parable. And just as we cannot share spiritual reserves or preparedness readily with one another, so too the unprepared cannot borrow the results of their healing. Being prepared to be a beacon of Christ's love and to welcome entry into His presence when we least expect it, that's the matter of individual readiness, regardless of whether it comes more quickly or less quickly than we expect. The thought I want to share with you today is that Flight Officer Robert Rennie was prepared in his heart. Whether he knew it at the time or not, whether he could have articulated it at the time or not, he was ready to be that beacon. Because in the split-second decision that he had, he gave his life for others. So no matter how hurried our lives may be, we too need to be ready to offer our preparedness before God. Because when we do, wonderful things happen in the name of Christ. Just like the wonderful things that happened in 1969 when a whole village came to say, we won't forget. The people of Hairden will never forget that message, and neither must we.